and welcome to Flyers Pulse with HTS. My name is Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things Flyers here on this podcast, available on YouTube and, of course, Hockey Hot Stove. This has been a long time coming, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself before we dive into all things Flyers. My name is Haley Taylor Simon, as I stated, and I grew up in Bucks County, but now I live in Philadelphia. This is also my 5th season as a credentialed media member covering the Philadelphia Flyers. I have wrote for multiple outlets, but currently I write for Philly Sports Network and the Metro Philly. So if you take the subway, I'm sure you've seen the newspaper that I write for. Make sure to grab it, of course. And I have been around this team now for 5 years, which is such a crazy thought. I began when I was 22 years old, and now I am 26. And I think about that a lot. A lot of the players, when they begin, they're around that age of 22, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, but around that age. And I have grown up literally in the Flyers locker room before my eyes in my young adult years. And there has been good, there's been a lot of bad and ugly, but most importantly, there is hope. Growing up, I always heard the saying, the Flyers are 2 to 3 years away from being a good team, with the exception of the Cup run in 2010. It was always 2 to 3 years away. It was always, hey, if the Flyers had a goalie, they would be a good team. It was always something. But yet I'm seeing teams like the Vegas Golden Knights, who are a new team in this league, come in their first season and go to the finals. A few seasons later, they win the whole thing. I see the Florida Panthers, who for the longest time were the biggest joke in hockey, and now back-to-back champions. I've seen it all. I'm surprised, but I have seen it all. And I'm sure I'm going to be seeing a lot more going forward. But I want to take a moment to appreciate the fans. The fans that are the diehard fans, the fans who showed up to games, the fans who still care. Those are the fans that make Philadelphia the strongest fan base. I know it's been hard lately. As a reporter, I am at every single home game, and I've seen it empty. And I'm not going to deny that. It has been empty sometimes. Sometimes it's taken over by the opposing team's fan base. And I'm sitting up there and I'm looking down at everybody, and all I can do is think to myself, when will the barn be full again? Well, it was for the game against Anaheim back in January, but nonetheless, it has not been full because of the team playing good hockey. A year ago, Matvei Michkov, it was announced that he would be playing for the Flyers for the upcoming season, and there was a sense of hope again. Something that a lot of Flyers fans didn't know the feeling of. This was a new feeling for them, because how can you expect a Flyers fan to feel hopeful when the team didn't show you any signs of hope? When you had a head coach at the time within John Tortorella, who I believe was just not the best fit for that team. I'm not discarding anything that he's done coaching-wise. He is a Cup champion. But I'm just saying, was it the best fit for that team? The locker room, you could tell that the guys were close, but it wasn't this locker room that maybe had all this ambition. That was my sense from being around it. And last season, it got ugly. It got ugly. 2 players in particular, Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee, 2 players that I personally liked. I mean, I watched those guys grow up in this league. 2 players, in my opinion, that had the wrong narrative about them. 2 players who worked hard and didn't deserve the treatment that they got, not by Danny and team, but by Tortorella, especially Morgan Frost. And now, again, they go away. And it all goes back to the Braden Schenn trade with how the Flyers got both of them. But again, that's a long backstory. We don't need to get into that. Schenn is a Cup champion, by the way. So there's that. Him and Luke both are actually. Luke is a multi-time, but it got ugly. You had Kuzmenko come over, Peltier come over. Now they're both gone. It's not funny, but it's a completely different team now. No Scott Ladden, who was like the personality of the team. There was just a lot of change. The biggest change was the firing of John Tortorella and now bring in Rick Tocchet. And I had a chance to actually ask Rick Tocchet a question during his media availability when he got introduced as the Flyers head coach here in Philly. And I addressed the situation. What is the situation? The power play situation. It is one of the worst power plays in the NHL for multiple seasons, which is unacceptable. And I know that Tocchet is aware of that. And I am sure he is going to at least make it not so it's 31 or 32 in the league and maybe make the jump to mid 20s. I'll take that. But Danny Briere said it best. This is the worst it's going to get, hopefully. He did say hopefully because, you never know. But I believe with the moves that Danny Briere has made, the Flyers will be a significantly better team this upcoming season, but not a playoff team. You might be wondering, Haley, they just got Trevor Zegras. How could they not be a playoff team? First off, settle down. Secondly, they're not going to be a playoff team because they don't have the goaltending to be a playoff team. I feel bad for Harrison. I do. I've talked to Harrison a lot. I like Harrison. He plays hard. I know he puts the work in. He is not a 1A. Again, I think he is a great backup goalie, which is what he should have been. But with everything that went down with Carter Hart, evidently, Harrison got put into this position, which was a great opportunity for him. I just still don't see him being the 1A. The most important position in the playoffs is goaltending. And you might disagree with me, but that is my opinion and my observation. That's what separates great teams. I mean, we saw Stuart Skinner crumble in the finals, and yet we saw Bob, former Flyer, put on an amazing performance. So again, goaltending is important. With the Philadelphia Flyers, you have to understand that this team didn't have the right coaching. They, in the past, had Chuck Fletcher, who made all these really bad decisions, by the way, with contracts, and it was ugly, so bad cap space. So Danny Briere and Keith Jones, they had to kind of dig themselves out of this hole. A hole, honestly, that they were put in due to mistakes of those in leadership prior to them. You might look at Owen Tippett's contract and you might say, Haley, ridiculous. Okay, fine. I'm not going to disagree, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes players that you have a lot of expectations for don't pan out. But again, you never know if he's going to be able to turn this year around. It might have just been due to him being coached by somebody that he didn't mesh with. You see, with the Philadelphia Flyers, they just had a great draft class. Martone, Nesbitt, Amico, a lot of players that have a lot of potential. A lot of tall players too. But there is a lot of upside to what is happening right now with the Philadelphia Flyers. They're going to have issues. And I am not saying that this season is going to be a complete 180 from last season, but it might be 15% better, 20% better. But they have a coach now that's going to know how to communicate with them. A coach that's going to want to communicate with media, which I think is awesome, personally. They have a general manager and a president of hockey operations who truly cares about the organization and finding success. Don't forget, Danny was on that 2010 team. So he knows more than anybody what that feeling is like of wanting to get back to the finals and actually win it this time. You have players Like a Matvei Michkov, I spoke to Michkov after last season concluded, and Michkov said to me that he was not really that happy with himself with how he played in terms of goal scoring. He wanted to do more. You still have Travis Konecny, who I believe is the future captain of this team. There's a lot of positive. You have a Jamie Drysdale, a Cam York. Well, if he accepts the offer, you have a Trevor Zegras. You have all of these names. A Bobby Brink, Tyson Forrester when he's healthy. Tyson Forrester is another guy, by the way, who I liked a lot as a prospect. And again, his growth was phenomenal. The point is that this Philadelphia Flyers team made some moves during free agency. They got in guys, big guys, that are going to help with the depth of this team. But are they players that are going to change this team? No, that's why a lot of them are only signed here for a year, because when the cap space opens up next year, I suspect bigger moves will be made. But in this introductory episode, I want to make it clear that the Flyers are going to be a more enjoyable team. A team that you're going to want to tune into and watch. But it's not going to be this team that is going to go on a miracle run like the St. Louis Blues did back in 2019. It's not. That's not how the NHL works. And it doesn't happen that often when miracles take place. It might. I don't know. But what I do know is I have a feel for this team. I spoke to all of the prospects this past weekend, and it's truly refreshing to hear how ambitious they are, how ready they are to not only get to work, but to bring back that grit, to bring back that fight to Philadelphia. Hockey is a physical sport, it's a contact sport. And that's what almost every single one of those prospects said about hockey, is that they want to make it physical, which is a good thing. I'm going to leave it like this. And I'm going to ask you this very simple question. When it comes to the Philadelphia Flyers, realistically, what are your expectations? Is it playoffs? Is it just having a better record than last season? Or is there something specific? Is it wanting to see a certain player hit a certain milestone, a certain player score a certain amount of goals? I don't know what you believe will be an acceptable season. So I want to know, what will be an acceptable season? I will talk to you guys in my next episode again. This is Flyers Pulse with HTS.